Hello everyone, welcome back to another Rosie video. Today we're talking about an interesting concept. I know a lot of Magic the Gathering players know this already, but there seem to be a lot that don't know it. I had a conversation with someone recently about win more cards and how to use them, when it's acceptable to use them, like what exactly they are. And they didn't really know exactly what win more cards were. They had heard the term before and loosely understood it. And I figured it might be a good idea to make a video that people are able to refer to for what a win more card is, because it is a little subjective. So, win more cards they're either completely useless, or the entire objective of what you want to do. And by completely useless, I mean maybe they don't actually help you win the game. Um, in the context of like EDH, if we're talking Commander and stuff like that, win more cards are very, very subjective. Some people love them. Some people love win more cards, and some people hate them. But and then there's that third category of people that, like I was talking about earlier, that don't even really know what a win more card is. Uh, they are fun. I really enjoy them, but they don't aren't necessarily like you like here. Let me put it this way: a win more card is not a win condition. Okay, if you play a card that wins you the game, there's a bunch of cards I like that. But Simic Ascendancy, it literally says win the game on the card. That's a win condition card. That is not a win more card. A win more card would be something that like allows you to have a more explosive or more over the top win. Something that like maybe does really cool stuff, but doesn't necessarily just do fulfill the role of winning you the game. Um, like I was saying, they're lots of fun. They can be really fun, but they aren't necessary for a well-tuned deck. If you want to be a deck that is just like super efficient, super good at what they do, you're not going to use win more cards. I have a couple examples pulled up. If you look at my tabs and stuff, we'll talk about them in a second. But an example of a win condition card would be like Coat of Arms, which is, you know what? I should move my uh, webcam over to here. Hello, I'm now over here. Coat of Arms reads, it is a 5 colorless mana artifact. Each creature gets +1/+1 for each other creature on the battlefield that shares at least one creature type with it. And then the rules text says, for example, if 2 Goblin Warriors and a Goblin Shaman are on the battlefield, each gets +2/+2. So it hits the field, it immediately has an effect. It worries about creature types and how many you have and stuff like that. It's pretty simple artifact. It's very strong. It's much stronger than a lot of people realize because each creature is 4. It also does hit your opponent's stuff. Obviously, it's a well liked card. It's $17 if you want to pick one up for lightly played at TCG Player. Not sponsored by TCG Player. I just kind of use them because they're pretty well known, respectable, easy to see the price stuff. Regardless, um, Coat of Arms is a good card. It can win you the game. If you drop it, let's say you have 20 tokens, 20 Goblin tokens, you drop Coat of Arms. Now every one of your tokens has +19/+19. And if your opponent doesn't have a counter spell or any removal to get rid of Coat of Arms, you are going to win the game there more than likely. A very similar card would be Door of Destinies. Door of Destinies reads, for 4 colorless and an artifact. It's an artifact that's 4 colorless. When it enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. Whenever you cast a spell of the chosen type, put a charge counter on Door of Destinies. Creatures you control of the chosen type get +1/+1 for each charge counter on Door of Destinies. Door of Destinies is a very similar effect. You're giving creatures +1/+1, but it's based on the charge counters on Door of Destiny. It also means that it's a little different from Coat of Arms. Coat of Arms hits the field and it immediately has an effect affecting the creatures. Door of Destinies has to hit the field, stick, survive all the removal and all that stuff, and then also see creatures enter the battlefield to get its charge counters. Then you can proliferate it, and you can do. There's a lot of different outlets and stuff you can do for different cards, and there's different scenarios where different cards are useful. But in a one-to-one comparison, Coat of Arms and Door of Destinies, in the same scenario, let's say there's 5 Goblin Warrior creatures on the field right now. If you drop both of them in that same scenario, coat of arms might win you the game. Door of Destinies is setting up for a long-winded, maybe more explosive opportunity, depending on the deck. Um, that would mean that I would assume that's a fair comparison for a win condition card and a win more card. Door of Destinies is still a powerful card. Obviously, it's $7. Not that price necessarily dictates power level, but this is a card that people seek after and also use. I mean that's what that's showing. It's an M14 card. It's not like it's from the early '90s or something like that. So that's why I'm using the pricing as a significant. I'm not trying to say directly that uh, price equals power level. Um, Another example of something that kind of, let's say, walks the line in between what could possibly be a win condition and what could possibly be a win more card. Because I would say that in certain deck setups and scenarios, and if you're building a certain way, Door of Destinies can be a win condition card. But when there's a direct comparison of something that's very, very similar in an EDH setting, you're going to look at it as win condition versus win more. Here's something that walks the line a little bit more, looking at it from an EDH perspective. Helm of the Host is a legendary artifact equipment that costs 4 colorless. And at the beginning of combat on your turn, create a token that's a copy of equipped creature, except the token isn't legendary if the equipped creature is legendary. That token gains haste, and it has equipped 5. Um, so this is a big, hefty equipment with a high equip cost. It basically, I mean, if you're doing this in an EDH perspective, it's saying make a copy of your commander. That's how most people are going to use it. Obviously, people use it different ways, but most people are thinking, oh, I can get a bunch of non-legendary creature tokens, copies of my commander that get around the legend rule and allow people to maybe kind of go a little crazy with their cards. Now, you would hear that and think of something like the Ur-Dragon. The Ur-Dragon is a awesome, awesome commander. It's Wooburg, 4 colorless, legendary creature dragon avatar with eminence. As long as he is in the command zone or on the battlefield, other dragon spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. Flying, whenever one or more dragons you control attack, draw that many cards, then you may put a permanent card from your hand onto the battlefield. And it's a 10/10. Um, that's pretty explosive. If you start making copies of that, you make dragons cheaper, you have more triggers. You're like, wow, that's really cool. But when you really break it down, that's not really an effective way to win. It's not really an effective way to, like, it's not going to necessarily win the game by itself either. You obviously have to do other stuff. And it's only really going to work when you are really, really ahead. And that's something that, like, is much more apparent in what makes it a win more card. Is if this card is only working in a strategy if you're winning the game, then it's a win more card. If you are losing the game and you're playing the Ur-Dragon and you draw Helm of the Host late game, you're gonna be like, what do I do with this? Now, if you're up and you draw it and you're like, oh man, this is about to go crazy, like I'm about to just spiral out of control, snowball out of control. That's one thing. That's really fun, and that's a cool thing. But most time, if you draw this card when you're losing in the Ur-Dragon, you're not gonna. It's not gonna do anything for you, and that's why it's a win more card. An alternative example is Godo Bandit Warlord. He's a 5 colorless and a red legendary creature, human barbarian. When he comes into play, you may search your library for an equipment card and put it into play. If you do, shuffle your library. Whenever Godo attacks for the first time each turn, untap it and all samurai you control. After this phase, you get an additional combat phase. So this is actually part of a 2-card infinite combo with Helm of the Host. You play Godo, you put the helm into play, you equip it to Godo, and then now you have at the beginning of combat an each turn create a token. Go to combat, you attack with Godo. Godo makes a copy of himself because he has Helm of the Host attached. Um, the trigger happens so at the beginning of combat, you make a copy, you get to attack, and then you get to what? Sorry, I'm confusing myself. beginning of combat on your turn, get a token, attack with Godo. You get to untap. There's an additional combat phase. You get to attack with Godo again. That's literally it. So you get to untap him, you get to attack again, you get to make infinite tokens, you attack with everything. I don't know why I got so confused there. It's a really simple combo. I got very particular about the order of things. Helm of the Host obviously triggers first because it's at the beginning of combat on your turn, and then Goto triggers on his attack. That's what slipped me up. I don't know why it took me so long to get that. Regardless, um, Helm of the Host is a card that is on the fence in between what is a win condition and win more card. It depends on the context of the deck that is given it. So there are some cards that are probably going to be absolute. This is a win more card that you're always going to do or whatever. And there are going to be some cards that are like, this is a win condition. If you play this card, you are trying to win the game every single time. And it's not like if I could get this off, it'd really be helpful or whatever. If you play this card, you're winning the game. It kind of like there's no card that's necessarily bad in a context. So these win condition or these win more cards are like I could sit here and tell you, oh, they're bad and that you should never play them. But that's not the reality. The reality is that you have to think for yourself as a deck builder, what is my goal with this deck? What am I trying to accomplish? Am I trying to do something that's a super cool, like fun, flavorful mechanic, whatever it is, you know. Maybe you're playing an Ur Dragon deck, and the only reason you're playing the Ur Dragon deck is because you want to do the Helm of the Host combo, and that's your goal. That's more important to you than winning. There are a lot of really janky decks that are fun combos that involve a lot of win more cards, and you can enjoy that and have a great time playing with those cards. But if you're trying to win the game, and that maybe that's your mentality is I want this to be as efficient as possible. One, you should probably be playing CEDH. I'm not gonna lie to you, but regardless, there's still high power and all this stuff. Um, but let's say you're playing mid power, but I want to be an efficient way to win because this is the only way that this commander can compete at this level at mid power. Then you're not gonna want all these win more cards. You're gonna want cards that get you to the win and nothing more. Maybe one in there for fun or whatever. It's okay to have a little bit, you know, but maybe you are really, really hyper focused on doing it. And maybe you're somewhere in between. Like I said, maybe you have one or two. Maybe you're, oh, if my deck's really running well and I get this out, like it'll be good, but I don't really care if I'm the most efficient as possible. You know what I mean? So really think for yourself. Is this something that concerns me? Is this something that even matters to me? Am I just gonna play the cards I like to play? That's very possible too. But regardless, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope I made some sense of it. Maybe I confused more people. That'd be pretty bad if I did that. But don't forget to look up the rest of my videos. Like and subscribe if you want more content. If you're new here, it really helps me out. Really gives me a thumbs up. Hey, you should keep making videos and stuff like that. But if you hate it, don't do that. That's fine too. I hope to see you in other videos. Leave a comment. Have a great rest of your week. I'll see you guys in the next video.